other pop-up. How you guys doing today? Welcome back to the Bleeding Orange and Blue podcast. And today I want to welcome to the show one of the most notable fan pages in the league when it comes to the Islanders. And Drive4Five has been doing a lot for us for a while, constantly posting and keeping us updated on our favorite team. Drive4Five, David, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
So you guys have expanded a lot from growth and you've become a very big collective effort. And how has that been for you to see this page grow so much and to prosper into now? I believe that's a blog going on and your Instagram page has grown so much.
It's really been a team effort and something that I'm very proud of. Drive4Five started with just a dream to give the Islanders more coverage that I felt they deserved. The Islanders were almost a dead market, in my opinion, on social media. I felt that there weren't many accounts that covered them. There weren't many fan pages that gave them coverage. It was always Rangers, it was always Devils, it was never Islanders, especially during those years that they were really struggling. So I made it my mission to start an Instagram account and eventually a website and eventually a Twitter account, eventually a podcast, eventually a radio station. It really expanded to a great potential that I'm really proud of. But my goal at the start was just to give the Islanders some coverage and practice my journalism, writing, and speaking skills while I was at it. So it really was a beautiful thing at the start, just me posting about my favorite team. And then it got crazy. John Tavares left. The Islanders went on a magical run with Barry Trotz. They had a really fun first year, second year, third year. And what happened was Drive4Five grew. It started with just me, and it eventually grew into a full team effort where we had a website, we had editors, we had writers, we had people that were using Drive4Five to advance their careers, using it to get that first internship, using it to get that first job. And I've worked with over probably 60, 70, 80 people over the last 4 or 5 years. Every single one of them has grown. Every single one of them is someone that I'd call a relationship, a networking session, a friend, even some people that I've gone to games with in person and really felt that I've established lifelong relationships with. So to be completely honest, Drive4Five just started as a dream, and it's really become something that I am proud of more than perhaps anything else.
So obviously you talk about the podcast and the radio network. Is there anything in the works or of adding to it? Maybe like a new service or something? Like I can get one thing that I thought about that a lot of Mets fans do. I believe Seven Line Army does it is like group outings out places. Have you guys got anything out in the works about that?
So one thing that is unfortunate about my progression here is that I am now an adult. So I started this when I was a kid, and now I am an adult with a full-time job. I work 40 hours a week. I commute into the city. I graduated college last year, and it really has become a time crunch. And unfortunately, right now, it has become something that I do for fun on the side. There was a time where I thought this could be my life, where I thought that this could be everything. The website I thought could have a potential to make advertising revenue, and I thought that we could sell shirts and we could sell jerseys and we could sell sweatshirts. There was a time where I thought that we could do outings and have outings every month. And unfortunately, life hit, and that's something that probably won't be able to happen. But in terms of what is in the works, Drive4Five is still very active on social media. I try to post on Instagram as much as I can and just have some fun with it. And what I've really enjoyed is seeing the community grow. No matter how much I post, whether I take a week off or whether I post 10 times in one day, I feel that Drive4Five is a community that's galvanized, that is really interested in this team and really cares about this team. And that can really do a lot of things. So, in terms of future plans, as you know, and as many people know, I've had a connection with Bathtub Jake since the start of the Pellick Posse, and me and him are very good friends. And we've done some Pellick Posse outings. We've done one against the Arizona Coyotes, and we could have more planned in the future. The website has been sitting inactive since I got my full-time job, but that's something that I do have a goal, maybe someday, maybe in the long-term future, maybe in the short-term future. That's a very valuable tool that could be reactivated and potentially reused as something in the future. And then, of course, on Instagram, what I'm going to do, win, lose, tie, no matter what happens. In the past, I tried to have an always believe mentality. And I felt that was my role, to be the positive person, post always believe after every loss. Now I've kind of transitioned it into posting my personal thoughts and how I feel about the team, and not really putting up that positive front, and really just being honest. So in the future, you're just going to see honest opinions from me, how I feel about the team, and you're going to be able to interact with me however you want. You can DM me, you can call me, you can text me, whatever you want. I'm here. And I just really enjoy seeing the Drive4Five community prosper. So in the future, to answer your question, Drive4Five isn't going anywhere, and we're just going to do whatever we can to make it the best that it can be.
So talking about that positive mentality, I remember when we were in the playoffs and never after any loss, any win, you're always kind of that upbeat guy that kind of like got me on that, okay, we're running it back. Don't even worry. Like forget about this loss. We're moving on. Of your post-game live streams, which one had to be the most fun or the easiest one to do, and which one had to be the toughest to get through?
That's a really, really awesome question. I think that my favorite post game live stream was any time that Patrick Dowd, aka Sign Guy, came on. I felt that it was such an amazing opportunity to bridge the gap between young and old. Not that I'm calling Patrick old, he's a dear friend of mine. But what Patrick did was really instill the always believe mentality into me as a fan. When I went to Hofstra, I was going to every single game at the Nassau Coliseum, and I truly believed that they would win every single game, no matter what the score was, no matter who they were playing, no matter who was injured. I truly always believed. So my favorite live stream was any time that Patrick came on, because we were so positive. We really got the fan base excited about the team. And when people were giving up, I was personally pulling people back onto the bandwagon, pulling people back onto the ship, and just trying to be positive. So my favorite live stream was definitely any time that Patrick came on. And then another one that I had was, this is for the loyal Drive4Five fans out there, but I fostered a cat during the COVID-19 pandemic. It was 2 years ago now, and it was really, really fun for me. And he made a few appearances on the live streams. His name was Marvin, and he would always walk around, and I'd pull him up and he would talk to the fans. It was very cute. So that's a little side plot. I loved having Marvin on the live streams. That was around 2 years ago today. And then the least favorite ones were definitely where I was about to cry. Those were tough to get through. When the Islanders were losing big games, when the Islanders, it really looked like things were over. And I was emotional because I cared so much. So when the Islanders got eliminated, not the second time, not when they got eliminated after game 7, that was very upsetting. But when they got eliminated the first year in game 6 in the bubble, and I did my live stream, that was so emotional, because for me, being a younger generation Islanders fan, that was the closest I had ever gotten to the Stanley Cup. And I truly felt like the Islanders were going to win the Stanley Cup. And for it to end on a fluke goal in overtime after surviving those two double minor penalties, 2 games in a row, it really just felt like I was literally shot in the face. So talking to people and having a ridiculous amount of people watching these streams, this wasn't 100, 200 people. There were 4, 5, 6,000 people watching me. And I was really the only one doing that. There was the post game show on NBC. There was, I'm sure, some Twitter people going, I don't even know if they had Twitter spaces then, but probably doing some sort of live questionnaire. I was the only one who was putting my face out there and taking it all from the fans, the good, the bad, people taking their personal frustration out on me. I've gotten so many personal attacks that are just absolutely terrible, but I ate it because I love this team. So the hardest live stream to do was definitely that first Tampa series, game 6. If the Islanders somehow survive that, they have some time off, a day or two, they can maybe come back for game 7. That was really tough. But all in all, that was probably tough. And just any time that the Islanders fans were giving up, and I truly believed that they were going to win a game, win a trade, do something. After the trade deadline, when they didn't make any moves, Valtteri Filppula, Leo Komarov that year, when they had that amazing third line, and people wanted them to make a trade, and I was saying, no, 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 hold pat. You have a magical team, a magical run. I believed in Tom Kuhnhackl. I believed in the guys to fill this roster up and down the lineup. I believed in Jordan Eberle, who eventually became a star in the playoffs. And that year, when people were really wanting a trade, I believed in that team. That was another tough one too. So all in all, those live streams were an amazing thing. So much fun. I miss them, and there were a lot of good and a lot of bad.
Yeah, and like that, the toughest thing about those two cup runs is there was no competition once you got by Tampa. Like both years, they were just both fluky teams and collapsed the very next year. So that's what made it so tough. But I love that you bring up Sign Guy because, he's one of those guys who brings a very positive attitude. I love that about Islanders fans. I was interviewing James Hess, the leader of the Blue and Orange Army the other day. He talked about just good vibes in him. He, as you probably know from watching the games, those MSG commercials. Have you ever thought of maybe making one of those? Because I feel like there's so many iconic Islanders fans that will go out and make one, and they're very interesting to watch. I'll put it that way.
I would love to make one, but I think the people that have gotten them made for them definitely deserve it. I think that Patrick is just a perfect example of someone who represents this fan base. He always believes he's there at every game. And some people have to really, really, really consider what am I willing to do for this team? And Patrick's willing to really do it all. He's a super fan. I really consider him a good friend. We met at that first Islanders Red Wings game at Barclays Center when it was a 4-goal comeback on the power play. Cal Clutterbuck took that basically flop, and they got the power play. They won 7-6 in overtime. Brock Nelson with the hat trick, the game winner. And from that day forward, we were best friends. We went to every game together. We sat next to each other. I was on the glass at all those games at Barclays Center. I really enjoyed it. And Patrick, talking about the commercial, I would love one, but he deserves it so much more. I mean, look at what he has done for this fan base. I think that he's a great example of someone that if you really, really give something your time, whether that's going out for runs, whether that's going to hockey games, whether that's eating healthy, you can achieve it. And he's an example of someone who's achieved super fandom, something that very few people have.
And then I guess kind of switching off of that topic. So Bo Horvat has to be the hottest topic I think the Islanders have had since they landed Barry Trotz. I mean, honestly, so many controversial takes on this one, so many people loving it, so many people hating it. But I just want to know what you honestly think about the deal.
That's a great question. And I love how you phrased it because 3 years ago, if the Islanders made a trade like this, I would look at it, I would have my thoughts, and then I'd talk myself into it. I would say, I trust Lou Lamoriello. I trust Barry Trotz. They could have traded for an AHL fourth line grinder and given up a first round pick. And I would have said, this is going to be good because Lou Lamoriello knows what he's doing. Now I'm a little bit more, I don't want to say negative, but I've almost become more realistic. And when I look at this trade, I look at the clear positives and the clear negatives. First, let's talk about the positives. You want to talk about the bubble and how devastated I was that the Islanders didn't make it? The Islanders in that bubble won a lot of games. So did the Vancouver Canucks. And it was really because of Bo Horvat. In 17 games in that bubble, he had 10 goals, including one that basically ended Jordan Binghamton's career. He was unstoppable during that bubble run. And it showed me, okay, this guy's clutch. Then next year, he has 30 goals. The year after, he has 31 now. He was injured in one time during that year. But really, I think Bo Horvat showed me that he was clutch. So he's a clutch player, and the Islanders need someone who's clutch right now. Too many times they've just given up at the end of games. Bo Horvat's not going to do that. He's very clutch. He works hard. So he's got that Islanders mentality. He can play in all zones, offense, defense, neutral zone. He can take faceoffs. He's above 50%. That'll move Barzy out of the faceoff circle for good. So that's a really, really, really good thing. He's red hot too. He set a career high with 4 assists in his final game as a Canuck against the Blue Jackets. He's on fire right now. The guy's got 31 goals, 23 assists, 54 points. He's very, very good. So nothing against Bo Horvat here. The guy is an amazing player. But when I look at this trade from an Islanders perspective, I look at it like this. The Islanders got Bo Horvat. Wonderful. But he's a pending unrestricted free agent. The Islanders might re-sign him. In fact, I'm pretty sure they will. But they're probably going to now force themselves into an overpay because they have no other choice. They're not going to let him go. And they could have potentially made a run at him at the end of this season. So the Islanders giving up Aatu Ratu, Anthony Beauvillier, and a first-round pick, that's a lot. Aatu Ratu, everyone is going to say, he's a prospect. You can't bank on prospects. He was different. And if you know me, you know that I never believed in Michael Dow Cole. I never believed in Josh Ho-Sang. I never thought that they were going to be top NHL guys. I don't think William Dufour is that. I don't think that Parker Wotherspoon is that. I don't think Samuel Bolduc is. No one in that system that the Islanders currently have is. But Aatu Ratu was. This guy is a top 6 center who can play all zones, and he is a wonderful, wonderful. But I think this guy is going to be a star. Is it going to happen in Vancouver? I have no idea. But I think that this is the best prospect the Islanders have had since Noah Dobson, since Matthew Barzal. These are guys that are legit. This guy is a legit prospect, and losing him hurts. So that's the first negative of the trade. The second negative, I think, is the guy's got 31 goals, wonderful, but 12 of them are tips or deflections. 7 of them are tap ins or one timers. 4 of them are rebounds. One's a loose puck. 3 are empty netters. So that's a lot of goals that are his teammates helping him score. He was on the Vancouver Canucks. He had a stacked offense, whether you like it or not. He had Elias Peterson. He had Quinn Hughes feeding him the puck. That team sucked, but he had some weapons. The Islanders might not have those weapons. He's coming to a power play black hole that hasn't been able to really do anything for years. He's coming to a team that offensively is really struggling. I think Bo Horvat is going to regress. The guy is shooting 20%, unsustainable. No matter what you say, players regress to the mean. We've seen it so many times. The biggest example I can think of is Alex DeBrincat going up and down with the shooting percentage. It always regresses to the mean. And I have a feeling that Bo Horvat is going to regress to the mean with the Islanders. Does that mean he's going to be terrible? No, but he's not going to be shooting 20%, and he's not going to be scoring these 50, 60 goal season that fans think he is. So I'm worried that the expectations are a little too high. I'm worried that fans want him to come in, sign this monster 8-year extension, $7.5 million a year, 7-year extension, $9 million a year, whatever it is. I'm worried that the Islanders gave up too much. And most importantly, I'm worried that the Islanders are not a Bo Horvat away. That's my biggest point with this trade. If the Islanders were one player away, I would say this is a great trade, all in. But the Islanders are out of a playoff spot. They need to go 20-10 to finish the year to have a comfortable chance of making the playoffs. They are not a Bo Horvat away. When you look at their top 6 with Bo Horvat, Barzy, Horvat, Simon Holmstrom, Kyle Palmieri, Anders Lee, Brock Nelson, it's not that good even with Horvat. So here's my final thoughts on the trade. I don't want to ramble here, but Bo Horvat is a great hockey player. Nothing against him. But I'm worried his stats are a little fluky. I'm worried he'll regress. I'm worried that the Islanders gave up a little too much. And I'm worried that they just don't have a good enough team to make the playoffs, even with Horvat on the team. So all in all, good for Lou Lamoriello for doing something. I'm going to buy Bo Horvat's jersey. I'm excited, but there are a lot of negatives, and I'm a little concerned. But I'm willing to ride it out here and see what happens.
Yeah, like, to be honest, I kind of wish we got Bo Horvat in free agency. I think, though, the thing is like, people don't come to Long Island. I mean, Lou has
Yes.
not been good at negotiating, but I think to come to Long Island, they got to be here. They got to play here. They got to kind of get the feeling for it. So I get it from negotiating standpoints. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to play out. Like, I think we're way better. We have a better center core. I like Barzy not being in the playoff dot, but there's definitely, I mean, it depends how they play it. Is Josh Bailey going to play every night? Is Kyle Palmieri going to be what he was before that deal? Not that that was really that much there still, but it's tough. But you know what? For me, like, I felt going into this deadline, we're getting Tarasenko for that same cost, knowing Lou. So I'll take getting someone younger, but I still would have probably liked to take a year here, to be honest.
My concern with Lou Lamoriello, and this is where I have become a little bit of a cynic recently, is you look at all the players that Lou Lamoriello passed up. I don't have notes here. I wish I did because I could list about 15 people. But just off the top of my head, they could have had Vladimir Tarasenko for basically free a year ago. They could have had the kid from Columbus who went to Seattle, Oliver Bjorkstrand, I believe,
Yeah,
for a
that
third.
nothing. Yeah.
They could have had the kid from Nashville, Tolkinen, was it?
Maybe.
Ely
I don't know.
Tolkinen or something. This really, really good player who wasn't working out in
Did he go to
Nashville.
the Kings, maybe?
He went to Seattle and he's just lighting it up in Seattle. They could have had Max Pacioretty, albeit with a terrible injury risk. They obviously didn't want him, and it wound up working out. But they could have had Max Pacioretty for literally free. You could have gotten Paul Stastny for free. There are all these players in these cap dumps. Even Montreal, Sean Monahan, you could have gotten a first round pick. There are all these players you could have signed. The guy on Washington, Sonny
So
Milano.
Sean.
You could have signed. There's the Eric Gustafson. You could have not traded Devon Tays. Here's my point that I'm trying to make is that was just off the top of my head. I really wish I had notes here to read off the list of the players the Islanders could have gotten. My point is that Lou Lamoriello is in his own world. That's a good thing to some, a bad thing to others. Some people love how Lou Lamoriello runs this team. Some people hate it. But he has his own rules and he does his own thing. And what that thing is his deal, his philosophy is he only makes a trade to benefit both sides. He never tries to rip people off, and he hopes the same is said for the other general managers. That's one of his big philosophies. Another philosophy, the story with Ken Danico, the instrument. Everyone is an orchestra. Everyone plays their instrument. He's this really his philosophy is really interesting, but some would call it antiquated. And I think what you're seeing is Lou Lamoriello has traded for JG Pageau. He gives up a first, a second, a conditional third. He trades for Bo Horvat. He gives up his best prospect, Anthony Movillier, in a first. He trades for players when their value is at their absolute highest. I would have loved to see him adding during the offseason because a lot of this could have been avoided. A lot of this could have been avoided if the Islanders just added some depth. If the Islanders just added some depth over the last 2 years, they didn't make one free agent addition besides Dennis Cholofsky and Hudson Fasching. If they made one or two depth signings that had legitimate roles with this team and one of them work out, you don't need a Bo Horvat. The Islanders sticking with this core and sticking with these veterans, re-signing Palmieri, letting Eberle go, trading Tays, they dug deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper to the point where you need to trade for a Bo Horvat to get back up to the level that you were at. And now you're just going deeper, deeper, deeper into a hole because now you have no farm system. Now you lost another first round pick 4 years in a row. So my concern with this trade is that I'm happy for Bo Horvat. I really am. I don't think they're a Bo Horvat away, but they could have been a Bo Horvat away if they had other pieces in the roster that could get them to a higher level. So the point I'm trying to make is Lou Lamoriello always trades for players at their highest. He always gives them the extension that he wants. He always has these nice round even contracts. Lou Lamoriello does things in his own way. And I don't think that's a bad thing, but it's the reality of it. And that leads to the Islanders being where they are now. And where they are now is they still have Josh Bailey. They have Kyle Palmieri to a monster deal and not Jordan Eberle. They have JG Pageau to a monster deal. They don't really have a complete forward core. They don't have any scoring wingers. They have these fourth liners, Ross Johnston, Matt Martin, Casey Zizekas, locked up long term. They don't have Devon Tays. And unfortunately, they just have kind of left themselves in a situation where they don't have the best full roster. So I wish Lou Lamoriello would have added to this roster in the past so we don't need to be making desperate moves like this. And unfortunately, that's what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, I agree. You guys had a great post a while ago about like the guys that he signed, and I remember like the list was just like Leo Komarov, and I think I was going through the guys that he signed himself. Like if you go over Lou Lamoriello signings or trades, Bo Horvat you can kind of connect to a Lou guy because he was in a trade with him
Yeah.
that trade back then. But really, only Robin Leonard is one of the only guys that he brought in that wasn't a Lou guy beforehand. And he just doesn't spend his money well. Like he believed too much in this core, didn't make a move. I mean, we couldn't get to the cup before, and he kept running it back even after we missed the playoffs. And the way he handles the bottom six, like Pajot, third line center, overpaid. Palmieri, probably maybe a top six guy on a not great team, but
Yeah.
on a good team, he shouldn't be getting paid as much as he should when he's going to play third line. So bottom six, this guy doesn't know how to handle it all.
The Islanders have a lot of mediocrity. And with a Barry Trotz, that mediocrity became hardworking, physical, grinding, and it wore you down and it somehow worked out. But right now, when I look at this roster, I see a lot of mediocrity. I see a team that needs this insane work ethic and this insane chip and chase mentality to win games. It's so hard for them to score goals. They chase the puck so hard. They work so hard. And when they score, it's like a weight's lifted off their shoulder. When they give up a goal, I mean, they've just worked so hard throughout the game, and it's just so painful to see. So I think the Islanders right now, they have a lot of mediocrity. We'll see if Bo Horvat elevates them to a level they need to be. But at the end of the day, the Islanders are not 2 points out of a playoff spot. They're around 5 to 6 because they have 3 more games played than other teams. The Islanders need to go on a hot streak. They need to win about 20 games or get 40 points to be comfortable. Saturday, February 4th, in 2 months. If the Islanders want to be in a playoff spot, they're going to need a run. And that's really something that I hope Bo Horvat can help them do, but I'm not sure if he can.
Yeah. I mean, and you think about those teams too, they had those crazy 17 game point streaks that they just didn't have last year, and that kind of hurt them too. Kind of switching off the topic of discussion, I know that a lot of Islanders fans and a lot of people that are big in the fan base have found a lot of a home in UBS Arena. Like I think that you guys have the logo. Is it on? I believe it is, right? The back where the bar is, and it's all the fan groups. The Drive4Five logo is up there, right? What does it mean?
We're actually not, unfortunately.
Oh, you're not?
No, no.
Wow, we gotta get that done. I
Yeah,
don't know who we
hopefully,
gotta talk
hopefully.
to.
Yeah, I wish.
But yeah, what has it been like UBS Arena? Just like finally we're finding a home, I feel like.
UBS Arena has been a blessing. It's been something that fans have wanted for years, and it's been something that a lot of people really, really worked hard for. And UBS Arena is a brand new state of the art building. It is a wonderful place for fans to watch hockey. And I'm just so thankful that the Islanders finally have a home. Selfishly, being someone who went to Hofstra, being someone who walked to the Coliseum and bought tickets 5 minutes before the game and was able to be there before the Star Spangled Banner was sung. I thought that was pretty cool. Unfortunately, now I need to drive a half hour in traffic on the Southern State. But location wise, obviously, a lot of fans love the Coliseum. Putting the location aside and the slightly further drive, it's such a beautiful building. It's such a beautiful home. The terrace is unbelievable. The store is so cool. The food is really, really good. The suites are really nice. It's a beautiful place to watch hockey. The sight lines are great. And obviously, fans have this weird little paradox in their head where obviously we love the Nassau Coliseum. We love the Nassau Coliseum. And this is really a metaphor for life. In life, sometimes you clamor for the past and you want things just because you have good memories there and you kind of put all the bad aside. And the Coliseum, in my head, sometimes I lay in bed and say, damn, I wish I was at the Coliseum right now. I wish I didn't have to go to UBS Arena because you just have so many memories there. But the beautiful thing about UBS Arena is, yes, it's a little further. Yes, you have to take a shuttle from the parking lot. Yes, there are negatives, but we're going to make so many new memories there. And even though the Coliseum was a beautiful place where I personally have some of the best times of my life, UBS Arena has the potential to be that too. We just haven't seen a playoff game there yet. We haven't seen too many overtime wins or huge wins. We had a really tough year last year there. But I think in the future, you're going to see UBS Arena really emerge as the home we've all wanted. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful place. And once the Islanders host a playoff game, it's going to really finally feel like that home that we've always wanted.
Yeah, and that's what you gotta hope for. You hope we can meet that atmosphere because that what the Coliseum was just crazy. I mean, you could literally feel the building shaking
Yeah.
whenever you were in there, and just everybody was absolutely insane in that building. I feel like Islanders games are just the best representation of Long Island. Like I feel like all the stereotypes just come out, just a bunch of crazy people in a building and some just very passionate about such a thing that it's kind of a small thing in the large scheme of things. It's just a game, but it's more than a game, and I feel like we as fans make it more than a game. And
It's
I
a
guess,
family. It's a family. That's what it
yeah,
is. It's more than a game. And when I say it's a family, that sounds a little weird, but it is. I've never been to a sporting event. I'm a huge Mets fan. I'm a huge Knicks fan. I'm a huge Giants fan. I go to Knicks games. I go to Giants games. I go to Mets games. I don't see one other person I know. It may be one person, and it's like that weird person from high school that you kind of remember. And it's like, oh, hey, how are you? When I'm at an Islanders game, I say hi by name to at least 50 people a game. I am not exaggerating. When you go to the terrace, you know the season ticket holders, you know the family, you know the people in your seats, you know the people that you've been to tailgates with and been to games with and exchanged tickets with and exchanged jerseys with and gotten dinner with. It's a family. That's what people don't realize. The Islanders fan base, it's almost a much seeing the New York City advertisements and the Empire State Building on the Jumbotron because it's not that. It's Long Island. It is not New York City, not even one bit. That's the Rangers. And Long Island is a family. It's a really special place. I didn't grow up on Long Island. I grew up in New Jersey and I came to Long Island, and it's been a really, really beautiful place. The beach, the food, the people. It's just a wonderful, wonderful place. And Long Island is a family. The Islanders are a family. And I've been to games where I've said hi just nonstop to people. And it's so fun. It feels like you're going to a high school reunion every single game. I don't do that at Knicks games. I don't do that at Mets games. I don't do that at Giants games. It's just a really special thing that you only get at UBS Arena, the Nassau Coliseum, or Barclays Center, I guess.
And I think that's probably the best way to summarize it. And because Zoom meetings only have an hour meeting limit or whatever it is, I think that's probably also the best way to end it. Just such a great community. And even if you don't know them, even if it's just for that day, you'll know everyone in your section. By the end of the day, you'll
Yeah.
high five people around you. I remember that when I was young, like just people that when
Yeah.
I am 7, they are probably triple my age, maybe even more than that, and yet we're best friends when they score. And that's just something I've always loved about it. And I'm excited for it to come back when we're playing meaningful hockey again.
It's a beautiful thing. Hockey is such a beautiful sport. It's such a beautiful community. And the New York Islanders fan base is, as I've said, a family. I love going to games. It's one of my favorite things to do in the world. It's my happy place. And when the Islanders win games, there's just nothing better than celebrating with your family. And I just love, love, love the Islanders. I love watching games and I love seeing so many friendly faces at a New York Islanders game. There's really nothing better.
Yeah. So thank you so much and have a good one, guys.